All right, everybody, this is Lee Shush and K9 Training back with another protection training video with almost 2-year-old Niklaus Onyx Z TAMMIK. This video takes place on April 3rd, 2026, and we're picking up where we left off in the last video, if you guys watch, with our barking holds and getting Onyx to learn secondary obedience, which you'll see later on in the videos. So his dedication and his bark is definitely improving, which is what you want. You want a young dog transitioning into a mature dog to learn to bark better, to learn to be able to control himself in the blind. And right now you'll see me pulling him back a little bit when Robert instructs me to, because that's how you build agitation and frustration in the dog. But within all of that stuff, Onyx still has to learn to control himself. And if you guys watched the last video, or if you guys know anything about shush and work, shush and sport work or bite work, you guys know that these dogs tend to get pretty dirty in the blinds during training. But you can't have that during IGP1 trials. So that's why I got some slack on the prong. In the last video, I wasn't holding the leash or anything like that. But now I have some slack on the prong. Some slack on the leash connected to the prong collar. And that's just to correct him if he does try to bite Rob. But as I said, he is learning, and, he's definitely, I would say he's definitely beginning to be a lot more serious in the protection work, which is what we've been working hard to get out of this dog. Because, I've said in most videos that I post or most voiceover videos, but I don't train him as consistent as I would like to. Right now, this is just him fighting with the helper, fighting with Robert. But I don't get to train him as consistently as I would like to, mainly because of my work schedule. So when I do train him, or when I can train him, we try to get the most that we can out of him. And, I will say I'm very impressed with his barking, his commitment to the barking, his commitment to actually trying to learn, and his commitment to actually trying to bite the sleeve and possess it. I'm impressed with all of that. And as I said, you see the slack in the leash. So, obviously he could have went for a bite anytime he wanted, but he knows that he can't be dirty in the blind. This is a 2-year-old dog come April 16th. So, these shushing dogs, they come into their prime at around, 3.5, 4, going on 5 years of age. And it's been that way for the past almost 100 years with these working line dogs, these working line shepherds doing the sport. So it's definitely time to put some work and up the training for him, since he's 2 now. But right now you see him fighting with the helper, and which is Robert, and you see right now he's a little bit bitey, and that's still some grip stuff that he has to learn. Anytime he gets bitey anytime he gets too munchy on the wedge, obviously we have to pull him off, because we cannot have that on the bite wedge, because that'll transition over to the bite sleeve. So as you can see, his transitions into the blind as far as barking, that's looking way better than, what I've ever seen it before. So I'm really, really impressed with that. And that's why you'll hear people say, get your dogs on helpers as much as you can, because over time, with consistency, the dog will learn stuff. The dog will learn how to go, and the dog will get more driven in terms of, the drive and stuff like that. So here you see him fighting with Robert again, and right now we're just playing around with his grip. And Robert had told me after that when he wave his hand over his face, he sees Onyx. Well, Onyx will tend to blink a lot and stuff like that, and he'll loosen his grip. So, and obviously in an actual trial, it'll be a stick coming over his head and around his shoulders. It won't be a hard stick, but if the dog loses his grip then obviously we'll lose a lot of points in the protection phase. So my trainer instructed me to, just take my hand across his face softly when we're playing ball. When we're playing tug with a ball, that way he can get used to it. So this was another escape bite right here. And I believe we're about to transition over to some actual secondary obedience stuff. So I'll explain a little bit of that stuff as we get ready to transition over to that. So just him continuing to fight with the helper. This is what you want. You want to see the dog actually trying to pull the sleeve away, and because that will transition over good to an actual trial. So right here now, Rob is trying to show him how to work for the ball. He has an e-collar on him, and in case he gets dirty. But the reason why we're trying to show him how to work for the ball is because when you're teaching secondary obedience, you mainly have to use the ball. But Onyx's issue before was that he didn't care about the ball. He only cared about the wedge. And, you know, he when you put a harness on these dogs for protection training, they tend to know what's going on the more you do it.
Nice.
So I'm happy to see him actually biting the ball and actually being able to calm down. And right now you see me calling him into the blind in the actual trial. You send the dog into the blind, and as the dog is barking on the helper, that's when you come and you say, obviously you would say, "Here, Foos," you would shout it, and then that's when the dog will have to come. So you train that first without an actual helper in the blind with the wedge. You know, you want to get the reps in with the dog first.
Much better that time.
He was doing pretty good here for his first time. So right now we're working on the transport. We haven't added any healing or movement to this yet. And this video is getting ready to end, but we say transport once, pass the ball over. Onyx has to see the ball going over to our helper. And then we say transport again, and that's when Rob will give Onyx the bite. Reason why Onyx wasn't taking the bite is because Onyx's marker reward is yes.
Say it again.
But Robert was saying he wasn't really saying it the way Onyx is used to it, so that's the only reason why Onyx was a little bit confused. Plus, all of this stuff is new to him anyways. So anyways, guys, this video is about to get ready to wrap up. I just thought it was important to put this video on there so we can document this secondary obedience training, and of course, get some of the stuff that Onyx been working on, and you know, as far as the barking holds and the blind and stuff like that. So yeah, we'll catch you guys later.